You're doing okay? How do you feel? It was a rough kind of thinking that I had today. Rough in seeing some of my old textbooks and yeah, all the different plans that I used to kind of dream or fantasize about my textbooks. Yeah, because you kind of you look at trends when it comes to artifacts and you start to think, gosh, didn't I really have good grades at one point because of my old textbooks that I just started to get? Uh-huh. It was the old textbooks that were the best ones when it came to having good grades. So, yeah, my textbooks, I have them in storage, and it's hard to say if I'm going to miss them if I just give them away or sell them if I don't keep them. Um, my dear sweet husband, he did suggest for me to well to just mm, he suggested something really really good when it came to um, home life, and it's that he can't help me more than of course logically speaking, uh, and I really get annoyed when it comes to mentioning my marriage. I really don't like opinions when it comes to other people's cultures and other people's lifestyles, and I don't mess with other people's lifestyle. So when it comes to picking on mine, oh, especially personally picking, oh, I just can't stand it. I can't stand it. I get migraines. I'm like, "Argh. Who do I fight? Who do I have to fight?" I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I did once have a friend or an acquaintance, not really a friend. And when we were lounging, which just means like sitting down for a while and getting some fresh air, or it could be lounging inside, indoors. I once saw him and I said, "There's a song called, is it the song or just a lyric to a song? It says, "Who shot the sheriff?" It sounds very aggressive, doesn't it? Hostile. So said I did. So I was like, gee, gee. So no, I really don't like to kind of like, hey, whoa, Jean, how are you, Jean? How's it going? Thank you for coming. Thank you for visiting, dear. Thank you. Yeah, just talking here about my dilemmas when it comes to books. I have had dreams, great clubs of thought, like philosophy, like there are schools, there are universities, there are colleges. So I guess it's all those years of tutoring, assisting students when they have a special need, but in academic things because they have a, like tutoring, note taking. Let's see what I did, proctoring also, and it was all part of being of whatever the office needed for the students. So I had experience of proctoring, organizing the filing system. I even took my own initiative and started to call um, the personal phone numbers on the files of students, so they would know that if they wanted to keep their files, um, they had to come into the office to kind of make sure that it wasn't going to be thrown away. There was a rule that after 7 years, their file was no longer active, so it was thrown away. So that's why I had spoken to the students and I had called them to, hey, what? Zuzu, hey. Thanks for coming, Zuzu. Awesome. What's that? Brazil. Ole, 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 ole. Oh, obrigada. Obrigada, Zuzu. Obrigada, my friends. Oh my God, Brazil. Wow. I have some good memories about chatting with people that were speaking to me in Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese. It was fun. It was fun. Yeah. It was such a long time ago. How long was that? 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. It was cool. So, yeah, anyway, my friend, thank you for being here. Maybe like boiled egg, because if you don't have enough choline, that's one of the factors for Alzheimer's. So, how do you really know when you have low choline? That would be great to find out. I think you guys can research it one way or another, but if you do, excellent. But if I did crave boiled eggs, hey, Rich! Hey, Rich! How are you, sweetie? Nice to see you. Thank you for coming here. Yeah, so if you have like this desire to have eggs, maybe it's low choline, but it's the yolk that has the choline, or more choline than any other than most foods. But the egg white has a protein called albumin, albumin, and also in Spanish is albumina. Now, here's the thing: sometimes you're a little bit too busy to concentrate on what you know. So the concentration doesn't occur, and it just we all have too many things for our cure. So yes, having analysis does help because you don't have to figure out every single moment of every single day of what toxicity that means poison. No, it's not about being poisoned. It's about just a little bit too much or way too much. But if you are, you know, curious to see if you have a toxicity, I always do recommend some lab works. Um, it's not always easy. My own father, he did not want me to live with him um, when I kind of the affection of my dad, the quality time, also talk about our heritage and things about his parents, his grandparents. You always could always enjoy that. But he didn't want to because where he lived, it was far away from hospitals and clinics too. So when it came to medicine and medical, you know, and then someone tells you, guess that's not how my mom raised me, but I guess that's how my dad was raising me without me knowing. He was maybe influencing that, or they both were, and I didn't really realize that that was going on in their mentality without me. I used to watch a lot of television shows, read a lot of books, so when it comes to morals, I was always deadly afraid of the type of mentality and ideas of sacrificing home life, uh, sacrificing, you know, it's a difficult topic to talk about. Very difficult. Very, very difficult. Um, Nobody can live anyone else's life. Wow, it's major, major. Yeah. These are the kind of things that you really have to sit down and write about before you express an opinion about. Because if I just start expressing my opinions, I know I'm going to be leaving someone out, not the person itself, but the experience of our lives as people, groups, and individuals. But I tend to focus more on the individual. And and I bless you guys. God bless you. Life is not easy, and the best thing that we have is speak about, you know, how all those things just kind of mesh together. Don't mind me. So let's talk about something nice. You guys want to talk about something that might kind of cheer us up a little bit, take a little bit of the little. Oh, let's talk about massage. Yeah, head. Scalp massage, like my song. You guys like my song, scalp massage? I composed that song. I sculpted, and I did the video, the music video, with all the graphics and all that. Scalp massage. Yeah. But it wasn't one of my old songs, so it's not a song that I've practiced to sing. As a composer, I do know that I have kind of neglected you because, well, there were some more steps that I needed to have my songs become like mainstream or popular. And I have, or I had in a way, my apps, my software ready for that kind of launching, for mainstream launch. Because right now, thousands of people have heard it, but maybe not millions. I'm not really sure how many people get to hear it. I think it's more the platform. So the platform does have an ability to become a mainstream kind of song for not only YouTube, but you know, well, you guys are probably more familiar about that than I am, but usually when I begin to become familiarized with software, it turns out that I leave it for a little while, then it becomes a long while, and then it becomes too late to launch, and then the software is no longer um, vigilant or active. What would you call it? It's no longer available or compatible. So then things change again. I come from a time where cassettes were famous, and they were the new thing after the old L LD disc or something. So my mom had them, the big records that you would just play on a diamond tip um, recorder. Um, what we used to call that. Well, anyway, so after the the re- records, the records which were usually black with a lot of which were cassette tapes, were popular. All the while there were CDs, but they weren't called compact discs. They were called laser discs. They were huge, and individuals really did not have it like in mainstream, or it wasn't popular. It was more for um, like libraries or governments or like organizations. So they had laser discs, but it wasn't in the 80s. They had laser discs, but it wasn't like, oh, let's just buy this at the record store, a laser disc. So CDs and DVDs. First, the CDs became popular to purchase like cassette tapes for music, and music and other audios like learning new languages, um, maybe like listening to something like jokes, something entertaining. So those are CDs. Then CD-ROMs became popular. I think CD-ROMs and CDs were popular at the same time. CD-ROMs were just like downloading an app. So they were just discs that you could just play games with, or have dictionaries. Now, when it comes to media software, like uh, three and what was it? Three and a quarter, three and a half, three and a quarter, I think. Three and a quarter, three and a half. Was it? Three and a half. When it came to the little floppy disks, those weren't really called floppy. They were called hard disks. But then people started to say, no, the hard disk is the inner drive. So those are hard disk drives. So you're like, which? So that kind of became like a confusion about which is the hard disk and which is hard disk drive, and you're like, they both sound. People have used the same word interchangeably, and they're not the same. And floppy, Floppy used to be the soft one with the magnetic tape inside, like the hard one. The soft one was bigger in size but flatter. So it was 5 1/4. They called it 5 1/4. So 5 1/4, those were really the floppy drives because they were soft. And you could just play with it. Pop, 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 pop. It was floppy. So the smaller ones were the hard disk drives, but they weren't called disks. They were just called hard. Was it called hard disk drives? There's the floppy drives, and the hard disk drives. Yeah, and then the other one was the inner, with the cylinders inside. So see, it gets a little bit confusing. So you just have to more describe what you're talking about, because if you just say floppy drives, hard disk drive, hard drive, hard disk drive, and hard drives. See, it gets confusing, so it's better just to describe what you're talking about instead of just the name of it. So the name of it can get confusing. It could be very ambiguous, vague. So yeah, you would just say, well, the 5 1/4 floppy drive, and the other one was a 3 1/2 disk drive. Uh, you would just say something like that. And the inner internal software drive, or something like that. That would be the hard one. So, I mean, hard and thick one, because that was, there's internal, external, but they both are where you keep your software. Although your inner disk drives, inner hard disk drives, those used to be where you kept your not only your files, but your operating system. So once I had a used computer that I had, it was working and great, but then one day it just started to have issues with mm, its operating system. So I thought to myself, if I understand correctly, I can just take files from an operating system software and start adding file per file, all the files necessary that my software has, and just put all those files, and then make a commandment on prompt. It was on MS-DOS, which is Microsoft Disk Operating System, MS-DOS from Microsoft. And after doing that, I can just command for the executive file to just launch, and and start reinstalling the operating system. So I did that. I put my one of my notebooks. I just started to put word by word of all those files. I started to write the files on the notebook, and every time I was copying from the software to the computer. Hey, how are you guys? Every time I started to do that, I would check it off the list in a way, a little bit, like a little check or some sort of mark. After I did that, I knew that I had all my files in there. I would look at the tally to see what was the total. The total tally would have to match how many I counted on the notebook. And well, I was sure that every file was in there. So I just wrote in the command, executive command, and boom, my computer started to work again. So I started to have my MS-DOS operating system functioning. That was such a long ago. I had the computer since that computer in particular, which was a Zenith. I think it was a Zenith 2000, something like that. That was in the year, I wasn't a teenager yet. So I bought that computer when I was 10. Yeah, 10 years old. So that must have been when I was around 12 or 13. So I wasn't 15 yet, that I know for sure. Because when I was 15, I then had another computer, another Acer with Windows. It now had a GUI, a graphic user interface. So the GUI, which wasn't like the Zenith, which was only on MS-DOS. Now, if you had an IBM compatible computer, it was going to work on MS-DOS as its predominant or basic operating system. But this had, for the first time, we started to see GUI. Wow, it was such a long ago. I think I just burnt that memory away. I don't know. I just remember looking at the GUI with the little, the blue screen with the blue sky and the it looked like blue and a window, little black window that was like, it looked like it had like a flying kind of design that had little dots on it that was supposed to represent movement or flight. And it looked a little bit like from one of my books, with roller coaster. You see, if you remember that it had a monarch butterfly, right? So inside the butterfly, you see some colors that look like orange or red. So that monarch butterfly feeling to it. Now the butterfly represents the soul in like Greek mythology or something. So that symbol of the window in that operating system, it probably represented the monarch butterfly too, because it had the completely black outline, and it had these different you know colors that seemed like orange and like reddish orange, something like that, like a burnt sienna. More, well, it could represent the monarch butterfly. I mean, it could, or it just seems that way too. So analogous, right? Analogous to it, yeah. Like it, they have a similarity. Well, I did execute it and it worked great, and it was like a success. Yay! Programming, I have enjoyed programming, especially when it came to helping my groups in college. I took C++, which was great. HTML only because I wanted to see, I wanted to practice it to see if I had, something new to learn. Like, I, basically, I didn't have to because I did practice a lot of HTML on my own. And I had my own website before I took any classes that involved coding. I did take, I blank. I did take some coding. I did have some coding experience from middle school. So I did have one of my professors. Her name was Miss Chica, bless her. I think it was my favorite class because of the coding and the using of computers. But I liked all my classes because I was learning a lot of things, and that was my addiction. I love learning. So yes, I did have what was called basic. It was not virtual basic. It was called basic, and we were learning coding and commands and using flow charts. It was entertaining. Other students, I was like, wow, they're so advanced. They're doing these drawings on their computers, and I I didn't really know what they were doing. I just saw images, and I thought they were more advanced than I was, and I was like, but I kept studying on my stuff, so I didn't have like any kind of rivalry. I just admired that they had their own thing and that it looked cool. But I really didn't talk much to my classmates. I was more focused on learning what was in front of me, which was the computer. And I loved my book. I even kept it and read it, my textbook. I read it before any college computer class. It had a lot of information, so it was really cool. Hey guys! Nicho. Oh, Nicho. Hi. And the Sky Portal. Hey! You guys, thank you for visiting. I love it. Thank you guys. Always take, always take, always take time to, you know, have fun and have the wholesome thing and the pleasant thing and the respectful thing and the positive thing, and And don't get angry at people. Don't, just sometimes we get angry at each other. But it's we don't live each other's lives to really, understand each other's whatever about it. So, just stay happy, stay happy. Getting angry was just like, you gotta leave it to God. Now, if you're seeing something like someone getting hurt or something, that's way different. That you have to really have a good relationship with God to kind of like be alert to any real danger and stuff that you might see, and be the hero. But remember, be aware that we sometimes make mistakes when we're observing something, or myths are usually not the best way to, you know uh, it's really hard. It's really hard, but stay safe and always do things that are going to be healthy for you. And it's not easy, when it comes to specific nutrition, specific exercises, specific therapeutical things, activities, and the good that you provide for others, and the acceptance of having also someone provide for you, and God bless you. God bless you, because nothing in life is easy, but there are easy moments. There are easy moments. We all suffer from some sort of ah, some sort of ache or pain, but you know, God bless you for keep going, and God bless you for ignoring that pain and just or finding a cure for it. Bless you for all that. Bless you for all that, for really being good troopers, being good, uh, for being good. Thank God. God bless you guys. You oh, thank you, Sky Portal. Yeah, we gotta keep it up, bro. Yeah, I'm the greatest. I'm the great wait, great of wait. What is the goat? Let's see. Great of greatest. Oh, greatest of. Gee, I forgot. Greatest of them all. Is it? Well, you're calling me great. Great are you. You're the great one. Thank you so much, Sky Portal. You guys are all great. Thank you so much for always visiting me. And yeah, I would love for you to give me some ideas, but I'm still not gonna like take all the ideas and like ignore any other new ones. My question to myself and to you is, should I decide on what to do with my books? I mean, my sweet little husband, he supports the idea of getting myself a little house somewhere that's going to be affordable, and that I crunched some numbers, and it's, I mean, air conditioners need work, appliances need work, or replacement. There are a lot of things when it comes to, if there are any kind of natural disasters. I'll remind you of anything sad, though. I apologize if I did that. I'm just saying that when it comes to storage, and it's tempting just to keep the storage like if it were like a tiny little apartment for your things. Yeah, somebody mentioned wanting to know about people that live in storage units, and it just sounded like for that person, they were interested in like hearing a story about it, like a romance story, like a romance novel, or maybe a drama, or a comedy, or some sort of genre. The person, I don't know who asked me about that, like about stories about people that live in storage facilities. Well, in Japan, people have always been famous for living in small places. And here in Miami, I have met two people that were really nice people that I don't know very well, but they live in cars. So I guess a storage facility has air conditioning, and you can put a bed in there. It's much more comfortable than a car. I'm the kind of person that would be concerned about what are the rules of that business and the laws of the country. Um, but the humane thing would always be to really, try our best to not let people live on the street. So living in cars, or wow, that's something you should maybe like tell your Congress, your representatives, and like, yeah, we do want people to live in shelter. I mean, in storage facilities and cars, and make it safe to do that with provisions and all, so they won't sleep on the street. I mean, that could be an idea to kind of, ask them to find a way to make it happen. Because if you think about it, it's, I don't know, it's a hard thing to think, right? Because, well, when you're camping, you're gonna need somewhere to like go to the bathroom. My sweet little husband took a contract once to for him to work as a mechanic, and he had to share one bathroom with, I don't even know how many other men, and those were men, so they all had to share that bathroom. It's hard. My husband had to cook for everyone too, because I don't know if they were like going to give him like, I don't know why he had to cook, but he would send me images of himself cooking. He was a mechanic, so I mean, that he was working there as a mechanic, and I got to see him there and his work. And he said, "What are you doing here? Go back home. We shouldn't be here." And I just wanted to bring you a soda, and he was like, "Okay, I'll take the soda." He just wanted to be fun with me, and and just live um, that little life of having, a home life. That was fun. To stay here, I would have to sell my house. I thought that, but it's not about money. Bureaucracy is not easy. If we wanted to stay there, we couldn't have done it, because after that, there were a little bit of policy changes when it came to work visas. So my sweet little husband wasn't able to return. So not everyone probably had that issue, but I had friends around there that would tell me from the hotel that I was staying, some things are going to be happening now, and when it comes to visas and all that, and sometimes when people tell me things, I start to think, could it be that it was already a suggestion that somebody implanted in me, so I believed it, and uh, when it comes to the how things work in our shared reality, do we really know? Some things are a mystery, but for some things, it was okay, because that way he was able to see his parents. If I had had the opportunity to see my own parents, gosh, our parents, God bless them, wherever God has them right now traveling, God bless those parents of ours. I used to dream about my grandma when she passed away, and she was coming out of a train, and she had this beautiful necklace on her. I helped mom take care of my grandma, even before she was, really delicate. I would give her medicine as a teenager, and my grandpa their medicine. I used to put little patches of nitrogen on her heart. Grandpa would take three medicines. One of them was Trentol for his legs, so they would have less pain. It was good circulatory medicine. And I suggested that for my mom because it was good for him. So I told him, Mom, you got to tell your doctor, let's go. When we had her doctor's appointment, she did ask for it. And I do believe that in that short period of time, it just did go away. I think the pain did have a relief. I saw a lady today. If I had talked to you guys, my memory had would have been jolted. Hi guys, thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for coming here. Hello. Yes. So yeah, that poor lady. She told me I have leg pains, and she was in an Uber. She was working in an Uber, and she brought me back home with some of my stuff from storage. So here they are, my stuff. There we go. Some of my stuff there. Stuff right there. That's my bread. I put that on top. So this nice lady, after she left, I thought, wow, it's sad that I didn't keep those oils that had been given to me in Central America and El Salvador from a lady that she said, you're going to heal a lot of people with this. And I thought that I had to actually use it on people. So I kept asking people who told me that they had pain or their spouses had pain. I would say to them, I have these oils that were kept either in a cave or underground, I think that she said. I don't know if she said underground or a cave. That I would tell them, I have these oils. I can give you a massage. I can rub this on your legs or your arms and or whatever, just their legs. So I can rub it and it might cure you. It should cure you because they were blessed me. This is something holy. This is something with a good heart intended for me. Then of course it's going to heal you because it's going to give you the necessary um, how do I put it? It's going to give you a placebo effect at least. So faith is a very important thing. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, I didn't have anyone that really wanted that, and I was moving. So I gave those oils, or most of them, to someone who probably is that told me he had a friend that had some pain. So I gave it to him. So maybe that's what is what she meant to just use it on give it to someone, not necessarily from my hands, to rub it on someone's muscles and skin, but to give it to someone who will, or who will give it to another person, and eventually someone will be healed will be healed. So I did give it to someone who probably will be healing. So it made me think about that when the poor lady, I mean, I say poor because my grandma used to say poor when someone was in some sort of you know health need, and she would say poor. She would call me poor and pobrecita. Like it just meant like she really cared. So it's okay to. It wasn't like something in another way. It was in a good way. It was in a loving way. So this lady, she told me about her legs, and I thought, wow. So I had just mentioned to her, maybe tell your doctor about some some nutritionists that can help you with certain foods for your pain, or also the a medicine that she was taking. I told her I had experience with that medicine, and it helped. She said, "What's it for?" So I did try to more or less explain what's it for. I try to figure out how it works, but it's more about the different positive effects that it has. I didn't mention about any negative effect because I have never seen any negative effect with a medicine. It's called gabapeptin. Um, now, I sometimes pronounce that name wrong. So when it comes to what was I mentioning? Trental. Oh, that's the medicine that I should have mentioned to for her to talk to a physician about to see if it would be right for her. I always believe that talking to the pharmacist. Now you got to be careful because sometimes it's the pharmacist and sometimes it's the assistant pharmacist, and it could be an assistant pharmacist that has a lot of knowledge and has medical background, etc. So, but you want to talk to the actual doctor of chemicals, which is the physician, the doctor of chemicals, the doctor of pharmaceuticals. So you do want to talk to the doctor for that kind of consultation. Why we chemists do not give consultations like doctors do? That's a big mystery. Why don't we have consultations with our pharmacists? Why are our pharmacists more readily available for quick talk and answers, and be right there with the medicines at hand, rather than in an office just discussing pharmaceuticals, and maybe some substances that are not pharmaceuticals, that are over the counter, or foods, or and other commodities that are just helpful chemically. I mean, look at life. Sometimes we have the temptation of using our cell phones too much, whether if it's for communications or, great to just have a consultation with a chemist. Like, I'm a chemist, but I'm not a pharmacist. I don't have a doctorate, but I have a license in sleep medicine. So see, it can get confusing. So to have a specialist in your endogenous chemicals when it comes to cell phones, it's great. So I would imagine that a pharmacist would be the perfect person to have a consultation of that kind. I studied some classes in neuropsychology, sleep medicine. I have a license in sleep medicine, um, memory research, and dream analysis, psychoanalytical dream analysis. So, yeah, I do think we need a specialist in these things, because when we go to the endocrinologist, we hear things about weight loss, and this is new, this is that, and uh, when it comes to goiter, and it's only when there's something noticeable that there is goiter. So your endocrinologist is going to talk a lot about hormones, but who do you talk to when you want to talk about your endogenous drugs there, and your acetylcholine from morning, day, and night, and your melatonin for sleep. Who do you get to talk to about this? So that's an important kind of speciality that we should always have, because cell phones, activities, you could say it's psychiatric or psychological, but I would beg to differ. I would say that it's more of your chemical life for your brain, your chemical life for your whole system, which is so intrinsic, so complex, but it's still understandable. It's more like we are biomes. We have different organisms inside of us, but at the same time, we have cell functions, cell processes. Our biology is understood by books. It's understood by studies, by research that's written down. But do people understand it? People have to focus on something in particular, because all that material does not usually produce a message that can convey all of the research. So people tend to be contrite about it, focus on something in particular. It's not something like, it's not like a database where you can just access information and it's going to be all readily available. It's even a database can lack some information, or the translation of some information, because languages, no matter how it's written, they're always going to be an interpretation. What isn't an interpretation is what you can see with your eyes and you can point at. But then again, the the anatomy of something is very different than the functions of it. When I started to take those classes, I had been also among science classes, or physical science classes and natural science classes. I was also given the how do I put it, the opportunity to tutor in English as a second language. I was given the opportunity to tutor in earth science, high school or science, biology for honors two biology for middle school, which is kind of between high school and elementary. So one of the lessons that I was given by the teacher, I was supposed to only observe the classroom teacher, but they were more excited in me getting, uh, practice in classroom teaching, which is different than tutoring. So classroom teaching is more like, you do a lesson plan because you did the research about that lesson plan. You think about it, you have like an algorithm in it, and you execute it by making the students hear your speech of it. But you're not really supposed to make them just like obey you, like think that everything you say has to be the right thing or no. It's more like you're focusing on the objectives that they can have for competencies. So they're here listening to a lesson plan or it there was a mixture in the class because it was English as a second language mixed with something more like civics because there was political science involved. So there was a political science class and or it was a English as a second language. I was the TESOL teacher of English as a second language. But the theme or the content was related to political science also or social sciences. So one of the lessons, would you call it a lesson? No, because I didn't have a lesson plan for that. That was just improv by the classroom teacher. So it wasn't the one that I the one that I executed for, from the start to end was a different one, which was about Congress and how to pass how the billing process occurred, something like that. It involved billing to laws, and we discussed the philosophy of like how to choose, or you know. So anyway, a philosophy on how to choose a position and submit it, and it wasn't like detailed. It was more about. Anyway, when it came to the lesson plan, that the not lesson plan, I'm sorry. When it came to one of the topics which I wanted to mention to you, it was about an elephant, and we were told that this was a story from Africa. So it was not only Africa, but a tribe in Africa. Now, the continent of Africa has many types of infrastructures, and many countries, many infrastructures, many they have cities and valleys and everything, and deserts, and it's a variety. It's not one ethnicity, it's not one culture, it's not one type of area. So we were told this is a story of African descent or African origins, and it was about some people that could not see with their eyes, but they could sense with their fingertips. So these individuals were considered very wise, and each one would touch a part of the elephant. Very disrespectful for the elephant, right? or towards the elephant. Anyway, these wise men were all doing this because they wanted to observe what was an elephant. They still did not identify the elephant. They used observation using the sense of touch to tell what the elephant was. But that is not the anatomy of an elephant. It is you could say that it's the functions that or was it, how could you really say it? Because you could say it's the anatomy, but not the cellular anatomy. It didn't tell you what the elephant was on the cellular level. There's a cellular level. Before that, I was going to say subatomic particles. No, it's even smaller. That's the chemical part. There's subatomic particles. There's atomic particles. There's molecules. There's, you keep going to from the hierarchy. There's the organelles. There are the cells. Then the tissue. The cells, the tissue. These are like, and intervals. These are like the basic ones. It's like looking at a spectrum, like the electromagnetic spectrum, and kind of choosing some to identify the spectrum itself. So after the tissue, you have the organ. After the organ, you have the organ system, and then at the end, you have the body. So this is just the biology up to the body that I'm mentioning. And well, I kept looking at that elephant and the drawing of the elephant, the representation, and thinking, gee, these students, I'm just shutting it there. Just these people touching the elephant, these wise men touching the elephant, wise people. and kind of figuring out what's an elephant. But they don't get to what? They don't get to hear the sound of the elephant's uh, tusk, not tusk, the sound of the elephant's bellows. They don't get to hear the elephant's, they don't get to witness the elephant's movement, speed, how the knees will bend as it starts to walk. They don't get to witness how the elephant. They don't get to witness the behavior of the elephant, or what the elephant is eating, or how it interacts with other elephants and people. And they're not analyzing, like I mentioned, the biology beneath the outer sensing of um, its limbs and skin and the roughness of it, and maybe some softness too, the softness of the tusk, the softness of the lips of the elephant. So here's the thing. I felt disappointed in not going on and on and on like I go with you guys. And you're so tolerant. Thank you for loving me. I love you too. And that's the thing, you guys. Yeah, there is. So that's what I wanted to mention. Where was I going with that? Why did I want to compare that? That story about the elephant, and how I just kind of felt disappointed that I didn't go on and start to talk to the students about. I used to love using a microscope. I always liked. Hey, thank you guys from how do I put it? The Levant, the Middle East, Arabia. How do I say it? Well, thanks to the ancestors of our different, worlds and the people. Thank you for everything, guys. Wait. Well, thanks to them that started to use microscopes and telescopes and all those lenses. God bless those people. Such long time ago that invented the ability to observe with lenses, because now we can use microscopes and telescopes. And I always loved hearing about inventions and how they came about. So I did take a DNA test, and I was a little disappointed that I didn't have any Arabic in me, but I probably do anyway, because my ancestry, the majority of it is from the Mediterranean. Even though it doesn't say, Arabia, the Mediterranean is known to have Middle Eastern movement of people. And we're all people. We wouldn't be able to have children at all if we weren't of the same origin. So although we do, when it comes to plants and what's it called, and uh, there's this thing where you take a firefly, and you mix the DNA of the firefly with the plant, and the plant will glow. So those are very, very different species. They're not people like we are in intelligent beings. They're different. We're all eukaryotes, though. When it comes to people, especially human beings, Devonians and Neanderthals, even though human is the most prevalent and recognized, I guess. Uh, we are of the same species, but mm, could you say that if we have Neanderthals and Devonians? Because we believe that we only have humanoids, like human Neanderthals, with a ratio of high human people that are, maybe I have some Neanderthal in me, but let's say I do, it would probably be very tiny of that ratio, like less than 2% or something. So a ratio that's very low for human Neanderthals. And that's the thing. People like the Neanderthals, the humanoids, and the Devonians, etc., they are eukaryotes, like plants. So we are all eukaryotes, and plants are eukaryotes too. Some people say that the story of E.T., the actual figure of E.T., was an inspiration to director Steven Spielberg of a plant. And when you think about it, it does make sense that we might have ancestry that were plants, like really, really long, long ago. Why? Why would radiation and DNA and experimentations and stuff like that allow us to have ancient, really ancient ancestors that were plants? They're eukaryotes. If you can mix a eukaryote with a firefly and and still have a species or a type of biome, then yeah, it would make sense. Eukaryotes are eukaryotes. How it happened, how would it just, I don't like to use the word evolution though, but love is love, attraction is attraction. Aristotle used to say that everything was, in particular, he did he did qualify attraction and love as the same thing. That was Aristotle. So he was known to be an excellent doctor. That's where we get the phrase Aristotelian, or an aristocrat, aristocracy, aristocracia. See, aristocracy from Aristotle. So Aristotele. So Aristotle, if you do look at what he wrote, some of those things just don't seem to be right. I mean, he did mention, if you look at someone or something, I think someone, and you're pregnant, it's going to affect how your child's going to look. Like the child's going to look based on what you see a person. So that discredits a lot of him to say something like that. But it was the time, and people did use research, and the research that was written down, people would believe it. So it's a little bit confusing to think that you look at someone when you're talking. So, but Aristotle did give us a lot of knowledge, a lot of practices and medical practices. He's even considered a Christ to some people. There's a video, not a video game. There's a game from China that was, well, it's popular, or no, it was produced by China as a product. What do you call it? Well, manufactured, I guess. That's called Tectonic or Tectonic. Tectonic, but that's 7777. It's amazing. It's a book that says that it has research from the Mayan civilization. Probably does, but it has a mixture of a game and it does have the iconography of people like Buddha, Jesus, and Aristotle. Other people too, I think. But those three were considered in the game to be the same person. So maybe a Christ. I don't. Would Buddha and Aristotle be considered a Christ? Uh, Probably. But was it Jesus Christ? Was it, could it be the same person as a prophet? Right? Our prophet, our Lord, our brother, our highest priest, our rabbi. Oh my goodness, And for some, and I don't deny it, God too, because God entered Jesus. Uh, Jesus is a product of the Holy Spirit. Jesus is part of the Trinity. So as the host, Jesus is the host of the Holy Spirit. So that counts as the Trinity when it comes to God. So that's, it's also religious and philosophical, and it's also understandable because every religion has to have the same kind of, ends, which is goodness. And the metaphysics is going to be different, though. Anyway, Aristotle, yeah, we shouldn't discredit him just because he was using some research that doesn't match our reality. I mean, ancient Greece, they used to draw little men, saying that only men were the ones that were being reproduced, like cloning, when it came to mating with women. So it was saying the women don't actually give any DNA. That's what the Greeks believed. So what if that was true for specific people that were not certain people? And maybe that they did count as humans or Neanderthal. There, we weren't able to just organize that kind of information. Unless some people do get that information and keep it from people like me. And, one person, I went to school but it doesn't mean that I went to your school or anyone else's school. We don't really know what we know, believe, or understood or were taught. We don't know. And sometimes when we try to tell each other, this is that, we either say, no, that's not true, or I don't believe it. And it could be that it is true with the right information and the right timeline and the right perception, the right categories and the right labels. Those are one of the things that we learn to have. I guess the more polite we are, the less we really talk about what we studied or understand or know or believe. Well, I hate to leave you, but I gotta go. So let's not call it leaving. Let's just call it adios, and I'll see you later. And a tutaleo, a tutelair. Talk to you later. Talk to you later. Take care. A tutaleo. Au revoir. No, au revoir. Okay, I'll see you later. Au revoir. Au revoir. Au revoir. Au revoir. Just forgot what it means. Adios. Hasta luego. I'll see you later. I'll see you later. Take care. Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to stay here with you guys. Blessings. Blessings. Okay. Thank you.